Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. I have another Steam Deck video for you here today, and no, it's not about EmuDeck. I'm still working on my emulation guide, but it's going to be another week or two before it's ready. It's a lot of work. But as soon as it's ready, I will publish that guide both in written form as well as a video guide, so be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, we're going to talk about this leather skin made by dbrand for the Steam Deck, and as you can see, it looks pretty nice. Now, you may have heard of dbrand over the past couple weeks or so. They just released a new case called the Kill Switch, and there's some drama related to that having to do with the magnetic enclosure thing on the back. We're not really going to talk about that in this video. Personally, I didn't order the Kill Switch because it's just a little bit too big for my needs. I wanted something that's just more sleek and form-fitting to the Steam Deck itself. This device is already so big, I didn't want to add additional bulk to it, and so I thought that a skin would be a better compromise in that regard. Now, I decided to go with leather because I thought it would look pretty nice in the hands, and I also thought it would age over time, which would be kind of cool too. But it turns out that I have some mixed feelings about it in general. I just think some of these design choices are a little bit weird when it comes to where they place the skin. And unfortunately, I found that the leather was a little bit too thick to make it more seamless into the Steam Deck itself. And of course, we'll dive into those details here in a second in a more intimate format. But in general, I just want to kind of show off this skin. I'll talk a little bit about the installation process, but really I won't get into the weeds about that. Instead, I want to make sure that you know all of the factors involved when considering a purchase for this skin, because honestly, it's not very cheap. And I gotta say, this video was kind of a long time coming because it took a while for me to really get a feel for it just based on the leather and the aging of it and everything else. Anyway, without any further delay, let's jump into it.
Okay, so here we are on the dbrand website, and as you can see, they are selling 3 different things in their Steam Deck section. First, we have that Kill Switch case that I just mentioned a second ago, and then the skin we'll try today, as well as a tempered glass screen protector. Now, if you look at the skins, there's something like 23 of them available right now. And the pricing on these will vary, everything from $25 for just a vinyl skin, and then all the way up to $50 for the premium ones like the leather one that I'm testing here. Personally, I didn't go with vinyl because I didn't think I would like the feel of that in my hands, and I also figured that the leather would be easier to apply. Now, in addition to the skins, you can configure it with other accessories like the screen protector or even a skin pack to put on your trackpads. So let's talk about that screen protector. You know, dbrand is really good at their marketing. They're a little bit cynical and kind of funny as well. And their marketing materials really upsell this screen. They talk about it as being the best thing since sliced bread. But the thing that caught my eye about it is that it says that it's compatible with the 512GB Steam Deck, which is the one I own. And so while I was pretty sure this was just going to be a piece of glass like any other screen protector, I did decide to pick it up just for my testing, because it would be super awesome if there was a screen protector that wasn't reflective. Either way, here is the total damage with the order here. You can see I got the leather skin as well as the tempered glass and then also an extra trackpad kit. And $85 is pretty steep. Thankfully, it does come with free shipping. Anyway, from the time of ordering to actually arriving, it took about a week, and it came in this nice little envelope here. And so, as you can see, we have the leather skins right here, and then also the screen protector. The trackpad skins did not arrive in my order, and so I had to email dbrand, and it took them about a week to respond, but they did come back and say, okay, well, we'll send you a new one. Unfortunately, those are still in the mail, even though it's been several weeks, and so I'm just going to move forward with the video without those skins. Either way, this is what the leather skins look like. They do have a really nice quality to them. They feel nice and textured. And if you're not a fan of animal products, only 2 of their skins are even made with leather. The rest are made with vinyl. There are some imperfections in the leather, as you can see here, but I'm not against that at all. I think it's going to look pretty nice over time. My package also came with a microfiber cloth for the screen, and then also one for the leather itself. Now, this isn't going to be an installation tutorial because dbrand has plenty on their website specifically for the Steam Deck, but they do recommend using a hairdryer. If you have a Hello Kitty one like I do, I think that will make it go even better. Anyway, long story short, when it comes to application, I really just followed their video. So I took an alcohol wipe and I wiped it all over, and then I took a napkin just to make sure it was nice and dry, and then I just applied the skin. And this isn't my first time putting on a dbrand skin. I've done them for my iPad before, and honestly, the whole trick here is just to take your time. Luckily, the the screw holes here make it really easy to line up the back here. And then for those kind of curvy parts, you are going to want to use a hairdryer just to soften up the skin so that you can wrap it around perfectly. And same thing with the top and bottom flaps. Although I will say, given the fact that this was a leather skin, it was much thicker than what you would expect from something like a vinyl skin. And so for that reason, this skin was super malleable and very tough too. There was absolutely zero concern about getting any sort of wrinkles or bubbles or anything else like that. In fact, it was probably one of my better skin applying experiences ever. Now, according to dbrand, if you warm up the back of it here with the hairdryer and then push down on it, you should be able to see the Valve logo when it's done. But I will say, I tried this for about 10 minutes and I never got it to actually show up very well at all. And so while that may apply for the vinyl skin, it's definitely not going to work for leather. Now, applying the front is almost the exact same thing here, but you do want to be a little bit more careful because of all these smaller parts. Thankfully, lining up all of these pieces is pretty easy because the Steam Deck itself has a bunch of lines across it. So really all you have to do is line up your skin to the lines on the Steam Deck, and then use a hairdryer to soften up the curved parts and then apply it there. Applying the front skin was definitely the trickiest part here, but again, because it was leather, it was actually a breeze. The skin itself is very stiff, and so you don't have any issues with tearing or stretching as it's going. In fact, you have to spend quite a lot of time with the hairdryer just to soften it up enough. And thankfully, the adhesive is forgiving enough that if you need to pull it off and reapply, then it should work out okay. Overall, I would say it took me about 15-20 minutes to apply the screen, and that does include trying to get the Valve logo to show up on the back. If I hadn't have tried that, I think I would have been done in less than 10 minutes. Now here on one of the curved sides, you can see that I did have it a little bit misaligned, and so I had to pull it open free and then reapply it. And unfortunately, I didn't see this until about 30 seconds after I had applied it, and by then it was quite a bit harder to remove and then reapply. I unfortunately did not get it perfect, even after trying it for several minutes. So not 100% perfect, but pretty close, and this is what it looks like here in the end. It's kind of an odd mix between protecting most of the Steam Deck, but then also having some really exposed parts as well. In particular, the top vent is just like wide open with these leather skins. And there's a change in the feel of the controls a little bit as well, but we'll talk about that more in the video. But yeah, for now, as far as first impressions go, I do like the contrast of the tan and the black. But one thing that is really jarring to me is that the back part of the grips right here are just completely exposed. And it feels odd for two reasons. Number one, because that's where the majority of the weight is going to rest on your hands. And number two, the thickness of the leather itself makes it so that there is a definite lip between the leather itself and then the grip as you're holding it. And so no matter what, every time I pick up the Steam Deck, I notice that little lip right there. It's not the same smooth, seamless feel that I had when there wasn't a skin on it at all. And so while this skin is a step forwards when it comes to having additional protection on the Steam Deck, having that feeling of that extra lip on the back grip is actually a step backwards to me. It's like when you get something and you're super happy with it, but then there's just one little thing that bothers you about it. Well, that's it for me right there. So now let's apply that screen protector. Let's do a reflection test first. So this is my face here with just the plain etched glass. And I love how it softens the reflections and just makes it a better gaming experience for me. Now, just like when it comes to applying the skin, applying the screen protector is the exact same process. dbrand has a video for it and everything. And it's basically the same application process as it is with any other screen protector. So you're going to use an alcohol wipe to wipe everything clean, and then you'll use a microfiber cloth, which also comes with it, to wipe the rest. After that, they also give you some stickers to dab on to get any specks of dust that you find. And if you want to get really thorough about it, you can use a flashlight to make sure everything is good there too. Anyway, I'm working here on my desk with an open window, so it's super dusty right now, so I actually did the application process twice. But once I was sure that there were no issues or anything else on the screen, it was time to add the glass screen protector. Now this one's pretty handy because it has two little plastic wings on the side, so you can actually just line it up perfectly without having to touch anything. From there, what I like to do is press down on the center of the glass and then just kind of coax the rest of the bubbles out from the center to the edges. Once everything's good and you are bubble free, then you can go ahead and remove that top layer of plastic film that have those two wings on it. And that's it. We are now good to go. We have a screen protector on here. So it looks very nice here, but let's do a reflection test first. And yes, as I expected, I'm completely disappointed. This is just the same as any other screen protector. I mean, I'm a pretty realistic person, so I realized that this wasn't going to be a magic piece of glass, but I really wish that dbrand wouldn't sell it so much to say, oh yeah, it's going to work great with the 512 Steam Deck. They should really asterisk this and say it's also going to make it super reflective. And me personally, that's one of the reasons why I bought the 512 in the first place, is because I didn't want to have all these reflections. So honestly, I immediately took the screen protector off, and so here we are 10 days later. I've been using the Steam Deck very heavily for these last 10 days every single day. And while the feel of the leather has improved, and I think the lip is a little bit less pronounced, especially on the front, it's still something that I definitely feel when I grip the device. And so here's my advice. If you think you're not going to really mind having that little lip right here when you grab onto the Steam Deck, then sure, I think the leather one might be okay. But if you are concerned about having this kind of jarring feel when you pick up your Steam Deck, then it might be better to go with one of the vinyl skins, which are going to be a lot thinner. A couple other things I've had to deal with my Steam Deck over the past 10 days is that on the back here on the right side, there's been a little bit of a gap if I leave the Steam Deck alone for a few hours. And this part of the skin is not something I had to reapply. I only applied it that one time, but still the adhesive is coming loose. Now back here over on the right grip, as I mentioned, I had to reapply this and kind of get it realigned. And while it's still not aligned perfectly, one of the things that does bother me about it is that the bottom corner right here will flap open from time to time. And so I feel like this is the first part of the Steam Deck skin that's going to come apart on me at some point. And yeah, on both sides that lip is pretty pronounced and still kind of bothers me. And so in the end, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that there aren't full skins here on the back grip. I understand that it probably would be a pain in the butt to apply, but all the same, man, I wish I had that option. Now, over the past 10 days or so, it has developed a natural patina here on the left and right edges. And that makes sense, that's where I grip the device the most. Another observation is that the face buttons have less perceived travel because the leather skin sticks out so much. And so it feels like I'm bottoming out on these buttons even though I'm not actually doing that. And so while this hasn't affected my gameplay directly, it just doesn't feel as pleasant as it does with the Steam Deck without a skin at all. The start and select buttons have that same problem where it feels like you're pushing down too much into the button into the case itself. Now the Steam and QAM buttons have that same problem where they're indented a little bit, but honestly I like it for these two buttons in particular. I never really liked the fact that these two buttons were flush with the device, and so now it feels a lot easier to be able to find them with my fingers without looking. And so in that regard, yes, I think this is a win. Now when it comes to the D-pad, surprisingly I'm not having any of the same issues with bottoming out as I do with the face buttons. It does appear to have a little bit less travel, but all the same it feels like it has full functionality. And so yes, long story short, the D-pad feels just fine with the leather skin, but I don't have that same feeling with the face buttons. Now, my perception has improved over the past 10 days or so. I would say that I am getting used to that feel. But I also feel that if I took the skin off right now and then tried to push on the face buttons, it would feel a ton better. And if I do choose to remove the skin at some point, I can guarantee it's going to be because of the travel on these face buttons here. Now, while the leather has aged a little bit over time, we're going to speed things up by using a leather cream. Now, dbrand sells their own, but I ended up grabbing this one on Amazon for about 10 bucks. And like with other leather balms, this is made primarily with beeswax. And it's a great opportunity to try out this cloth that came with the leather skin. Now, it's been years since I applied any leather balm to anything, but the process is pretty simple. You just need to apply some to your cloth and then rub it directly onto the leather. Now for this application, I did try to be pretty careful about not getting any of the leather balm on any of the buttons. But of course, it's almost impossible to be able to get the edges without touching the buttons, so we will address this here later in the video. But for now, even after just a couple minutes of adding that leather balm, I do love the patina here, and it gives the leather a much more natural feel as well. Before applying the cream, the leather felt a little bit stiff and then also kind of sleek as well. But the lived-in feel of the leather after you apply the balm is actually much nicer. And so here we are with the leather cream applied only to the left side and then the top and the bottom. And as you can see, it has a nice rich color to it now. If we look at the right side, which I have not touched with the cream yet, you can see that it has a more sleek texture and just looks a little bit more stiff. And so yes, in comparing the two left and right sides here, I definitely favor the left over the right. Of course, if you just spent a lot of time with your Steam Deck, I think that over a period of months, it would still get that same feel. All we're doing with the balm is just speeding up the process significantly. And so now I'm going to apply this leather cream to the rest of the device. And like I mentioned, it is impossible to avoid the screen as well as the buttons. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use an alcohol wipe to just kind of clear everything off. My worry is that if I press the buttons down, I'm going to push down that cream into the insides of the device. Now, of course, this is not a perfect solution, so I would caution you, if you don't want to get any leather cream inside your Steam Deck, then don't use leather cream on your Steam Deck. Personally, I think the light amount that I'm applying here, and then also using the alcohol wipe and then wiping everything clean, is probably going to get me pretty close. But anyway, this is the look and the feel of the Steam Deck after using the leather skin for about 10 days and then also applying a leather cream to kind of speed up the patina process. And I gotta say, my experience with the dbrand leather skin for my Steam Deck is kind of mixed. I like the look of the leather itself and the contrast between the tan and the black. I also think that adding a leather balm to it does improve the feel of it significantly. But there are just enough issues here that make it far from perfect. Given the fact that this carries a pretty premium price of $50, you would expect it to improve the Steam Deck experience across the board. But instead, I found that there were a series of compromises. Number one, the feel of the grips and just having that lip of the skin because there is no skin on the back there. And then also the way that the thickness of the leather skin itself does inhibit the travel of your face buttons in particular. What's most frustrating about that is that when they advertise the skin on their website, they talk about it how it's the thinnest thing in the world and you won't notice it. And that may very well be the case with the vinyl skins, but the leather skins are definitely not like that, and they don't say anything about that in their materials. And so at best, I would say that dbrand just really didn't nail it with these leather skins in particular, but at worst, it almost feels like their marketing materials are misleading in order to move units. Between my slight disappointment in the feel of the skin at the edges as well as the face buttons, combined with the fact that their screen protector is promoted as being compatible with the 512 gig Steam Deck while not actually saying that it is going to make it reflective, and then finally the fact that they messed up my order and didn't even send me all my stuff is just kind of disappointing all around. And so at the end of the day, is the dbrand leather skin on the Steam Deck nice? I would say that yes, in many respects it does improve the experience of using the Steam Deck. I would say the feel of the leather overall is still better than a bare bones Steam Deck. And of course it is going to provide some protection to the parts that are covered by the skin. And so at the end of the day, I would say that yes, dbrand talks a very good game when it comes to marketing their stuff, and their marketing does a pretty good job of selling this like premium materials. But I would say my own real-world use case experience here is less than premium. As you can see, we're in quite a pickle right here. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this leather skin is worth $50 or is dbrand going crazy? As always, thank you for watching, and the EMU Deck update as well as the video guide should be out in the next week or so, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.